has taken a particularly tough stance on illegal immigration has been Tom Cotton of Arkansas, and Senator Cotton joins me now. Senator, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Morning, Chuck. Good to be with you.
All right. What would you say of what kind of deal the president will accept? Because there does seem to be the president, Tuesday Trump, I guess as Lindsey Graham likes to call him. You were in that larger meeting. He looked like he was willing to essentially accept Graham Durbin. And then a lot of people say you got to him and you stiffened his spine. So can you explain the president's position? Because it doesn't seem to be clear, as Mitch McConnell himself has said.
Chuck, I don't think anyone got to Donald Trump. Donald Trump studied the proposal that Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham put in front of him and realized it didn't address any of our key priorities. Not only did it give legal protections to the population that's in the DACA program, but it gave a mass amnesty to their parents as well, the people that created the problem to begin with. Didn't give money for new border barrier construction.
They weren't going to get citizenship.
But it gives them legal status. That's an amnesty by adjusting their status from illegal to legal, no matter what you call it. Didn't give money to build any new border barriers, only to repair past border barriers. It didn't do anything to stop chain migration. Here's what the president has been clear on. Here's what I and so many Senate Republicans have been clear on. We're willing to protect this population that is in the DACA program. If we do that, though, it's going to have negative consequences. First, it's going to lead to more illegal immigration with children. That's why the security enforcement measures are so important. And second, it means that you're going to create an entire new population through chain migration that can bring in more people into this country that's not based on their skills and education and so forth. That's why we have to address chain migration as well. That is a narrow and focused package that should have the support of both parties.
But you're, as I was saying to Senator Durbin, it sounds like Democrats are willing to accept everything you're talking about on a smaller population. Like, let's deal with the DACA and DACA-related population on all of those issues. That's part one. And then there's a part two that you deal with the larger immigration law changes. That seems very reasonable. Why do you find that unreasonable?
So first, let me just say that Congress hasn't gotten part one right for decades, so it's important that we focus on part one. But second, the proposal that Senator Durbin and Senator Graham put forward doesn't do any of those things. As I said, it doesn't just give legal protections for the 700,000 persons in the DACA program, but to millions of other people, to include the parents who brought those kids here in the first place. Second, on security, no new border construction, only repair of existing construction.
All right, that's already changed. That's already changed. Chuck Schumer on Friday gave him full funding for the wall, $18 billion. Put it on the table. Done. That's already changed.
Were you in that meeting?
I'm just, do you?
I wasn't in the meeting either.
Okay.
My point,
but
it's hard for the president to negotiate. It's hard for the president or for Senate Republicans to negotiate when the Democrats sitting across the table don't get what they want. They run out and they misrepresent what was a good faith effort to listen and to build trust, claim that some ridiculous deal was made, and then claim that the president walked away from that deal. And the media buys it hook, line, and sinker. The president and the Senate Republicans engaged on this issue have been consistent since September when the president ended President Obama's unlawful program. The problem we have is for 4.5 months, the Democrats have not been negotiating over these very real and very honest concerns.
What I don't understand is how do you not see it as progress now that Chuck Schumer even publicly is saying you get full funding for the wall? Luis Gutierrez publicly saying you get funding for the wall. How is that not done? How is that not a done deal? They've already moved. Why, if you're the Democrats here, they say, we've moved much farther.
So Chuck, that's a good first step. But the devil is always in the details in immigration. It's a very complicated area of law. Last week, Senator Durbin and Senator Graham were saying you get funding for the wall. You don't get new funding for it. You get funding to repair existing, and it's only 1 year.
Okay, that's an old offer.
We've seen this time and time again in the immigration space. Right. Promises are made, promises are not kept because we spend money on a year-to-year basis. Second, you still have the problem of chain migration and of creating an entire new group of immigrants that is going to be able to bring millions of new immigrants to this country without regard to their skills or their education level, their ability to get a job and stand on their own 2 feet. We have to solve those two negative side effects of giving legal protections to the DACA population. That's the parameters of the deal that we all agreed to a couple Tuesdays ago at the White House.
Do you think it's a fair stance that if you can't vote for a bill, the president shouldn't agree to it?
Well, look, we all serve in co-equal branches, the House, the Senate, and the President. We all make our independent decisions. I work with the President on this issue. I work with Senate and House Republicans. I'm more than happy to sit down with any Democrat.
Do you plan to support on anything, whatever the President eventually agrees to, will you support that bill, hook, line, and sinker?
Well, no, I can't make that commitment at all. I will evaluate any deal on its merits and what's best for the people of Arkansas and best for our country.
All right, you question the credibility of the Democrats when they go into a meeting and they come out. I got to ask you about the infamous meeting of 10 days ago. Did the president use a vulgarity?
Chuck, I'm not going to get into every word that was or was not said. I will say, as many people have said, Kirsten Nelson, under oath, that a lot of strong language was used. I think it's fair to say that there was some cursing behind closed doors.
Okay, why couldn't you? What I don't understand is in the first 48 hours, as there was a controversy about whether it was said, you implied it wasn't said at all. You didn't, and it made it seem as if you were accusing Dick Durbin of being a liar. And Lindsey Graham of being a liar.
Here's what was missed.
Do you understand?
As far as I know, Lindsey Graham hasn't spoken on the record about this, Chuck. Here's the point. That Senator Durbin represented that President Trump used repeatedly used vile, racist, hateful language. That's not the case. If it was, why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he slam his paper down and get up and walk out? What President Trump and others in that meeting expressed was astonishment that Senator Durbin and Senator Graham would bring a proposal that wouldn't move us towards a skills-based system, but move us towards a system in which we are rewarding people based on where they come from, not who they are. But the whole point of immigration reform is to judge people as individuals based on who they are and what they can contribute to our society, not where they come from or who they're related to.
But to go back to this issue of sort of trust on both sides, you let it sort of hang out there that Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham were misleading the public completely. And only now are you admitting, well, yeah, there was some vulgarity used. That isn't what you said a week ago. That isn't what you said 10 days ago at the time. Why?
Chuck, I've never denied that there wasn't strong language used in the meeting by lots of people. You know, I'm not a shrinking violet about these things. I've been in a command post overseas. I've heard some salty language before. What I'm saying is it is a gross misrepresentation.
Were you offended? Lindsey Graham appears to be offended. He said his piece. Were you offended by what the president said?
I was not offended, and nobody in the meeting expressed their offense at any of the language that was being used.
Lindsey Graham didn't make his piece?
Lindsey Graham made a case about immigration policy. He didn't make a case about what the president was saying.
He said in his slide that he said his piece about what American ideals are about. Did he do that or not?
Yes, he did. And that's part of immigration policies, because immigration policy is a part of who we are, who we're going to bring to this country to become new American citizens.
All right, Senator Tom Cotton, Republican Marcus, I'm going to leave.